Greyhound is directed by Aaron Schneider and stars Tom Hanks, and the screenplay is also by Tom Hanks as well, and it also has Stephen Graham and Elizabeth Shue, and it's based on the 1955 novel called The Good Shepherd, or Good Shepherd by C.S. Forester, and it basically follows in World War II, where
the Battle of
the Atlantic that occurred months after the United States officially went into World War II after Pearl Harbor, and it deals with pretty much the commander of the United States Navy on the assignment to pretty much defend him and his crew from German U-boats that come out, and it pretty much becomes more of an evasive, battles on the ocean type of movie. Yeah. Kind of like what we saw with movies like Hunt for Red October and all that. Yeah. But more like just regular boats, Yeah. Now, here's some backstory. Now, I'm not really too familiar with the original battle that this took place in as far as history.
Oh, but it's the Battle Atlantic is pretty much the most epic, biggest naval ship battle in human history as far as wars come. And basically, this took place a couple years before the we stormed Normandy, and basically when we were trying to get through the Atlantic to get to Europe, we were having trouble going against the U-boats, and if people don't know their history, the German U-boats were highly fucking sophisticated. Nobody on Earth could fucking get through them. And somehow this film isn't really about that, because this film is more about just the pilot of that war. Yeah. And we'll get to that in the story. But basically, yeah, it was as big as D-Day. Defeating the U-boats is another big epic thing we did. Because they were you could not find them in the ocean. Like, they were that good. Mm-hmm. And they could wipe out fucking off of just shooting the firepower on these U-boats. They could shoot them and literally wipe out Navy fleets in just like one button. Yeah. Like, they could shoot down like 5 fucking Navy warships in just one boop. Yeah. That's how good they were. And the Germans made thousands of these motherfuckers. And you could see how hard it is to fight one. Now imagine
having a whole army.
This was a thing, the Battle of Atlantic was a thing that lasted on for about 2 to 3 years until we
eventually got to
we defeated the U-boats, and Hitler, got rid of them, told them to, get back, flee back, and that's when we were able to break through. So that's a little bit of a piece of history. I know I probably missed some other shit, but that's basic history on that.
Yeah, and from what we've been told was that this movie was originally planned over the summer. It was supposed to come to theaters, but of course, once again, due to the COVID-19, they instead, Apple Plus TV got the rights to basically do it for streaming instead.
And distribute
it. Yeah. And so, from what we've also realized is that this was actually directed by the guy who was a cinematographer on earlier films from movies from the 90s, including Kiss of the Girls and also Simon Birch.
Both were good movies.
Yeah. By the way. And so, going into this movie, from the trailers, even though I really do like Tom Hanks in movies, and the novelty of seeing him in a war movie again, like seeing Private Ryan, the idea could probably work, especially with something like that on a more epic scale. And from the trailers, I did really notice that I wasn't really feeling the effects on the way it was shot, because you could tell that there was a lot of CGI involved with a lot of the ships and a lot of the water sequences, and it was just... I kind of went into a little bit of skepticism, but I just figured maybe it was going to still be good regardless of the production.
However, I did not see Midway last year, but I heard a lot of bad things about it. When I saw the trailers to that Midway last year, we kind of felt the same way. It was like, ooh, I don't know, and we ended up being right. And this film kind of goes hand in hand when I saw the trailers with Midway, because I had the same feeling when I watched this. The trailers to this film, I'm like, oh, another fucking Midway type of movie.
Or Hunter Killer, like you watched.
Or Hunter Killer. I'm like, come on. And Tom Hanks, I like the guy. He's known for epic scales, which kind of questions me how this movie played out and how they were able to get him. Because, going back to Tom Hanks' and his choice of films. I am kind of getting burned out of him playing this type of role.
Where it's always biographical movies.
Yeah, biographical or the war movie in general. He was great in Saving Private Ryan and some other stuff, but it's just, I feel like he's beating a fucking dead horse at this point.
Yeah,
I'm ready for him to go back to original ideas.
Or more comedy.
I know he did it with Circle, and that movie was fucking trash, but man, I mean,
well, I mean, last year he had the Mr. Rogers movie, so I mean...
Yeah, that was a more, all right, thank you, you know, but that's a biopic.
Right, but I'm saying it would be good to see him do more original movies that are not based on true stories. Or maybe go back to comedy again, you know, because the guy started out doing comedy roles before he became a serious actor.
Yeah, exactly. You know? But the trailers had me a little worrisome, and, you know, me and him's kind of been having a rough time because usually, as you guys know, we have not done this since the movie theaters were open. This was before the coronavirus when we were going to theaters, and we've been stuck doing separate, you know, social distancing where I watch at my house, he watches here, and we basically do, you saw our Skype thing, how we're doing that. I know it comes out low budget, sorry about that, I live out in the country a little bit, but hopefully we can get more of this going again. But the reason why we're doing it this time is I'm usually really good at getting anything before even anything comes out. And for some reason, Apple Plus is really, really sticking hard on making sure this film does not get released anywhere but their site. Yeah. And because of that, I mean, you can't even damn near find this film anywhere. And it's really not that special of a movie anyways. From what we were given, so I don't understand why all the trouble to make sure no one could see this. I guess it's, you know, they want to make money off of it, which I agree, I get their point, but they're really, really hard on streaming this.
Yeah, and so you had to come over here and watch it.
Come over here and watch
it on my streaming thing that I was watching it on.
So, yeah, I will say upon seeing the movie, wow, this was a horrible war film. I'm sorry. I'm going to put it out there. This was probably the worst war film I've watched. And I wouldn't call 1517 the Paris a war film necessarily. But on the patriotic thing, I will throw a conflict as a reason of it being somewhat of a military-ish.
Sort of.
This was probably the worst war film since I watched that movie. So I was really disappointed on a lot of things. Especially, I feel like it was a disrespect to what the real Battle of the Atlantic. I'm not familiar with the book. I know the book is about the guy, I guess himself, his experience. So maybe I'm bashing it a little too hard because I was thinking we were gonna get this Battle of the Atlantic type war,
right? But
which should have been something that Spielberg or somebody like that would get, and it should have been on like Saving Private Ryan level. Instead, we get this straight to, I mean, looks like History Channel, and we'll get more into our cons on that. But starting with my pros, I mean, the cast was, they weren't like amazing because something takes that emotion out of it, but they were still good.
Yeah, Tom Hanks. I just give it what you're saying. It's going into it. After upon seeing, I just felt really nothing out of this movie.
Yeah,
but I will say that, like, to get my pros, Tom Hanks, he's always, you know, he has a good, he gives the material what he can give with as far as the performance. You know, he shows the emotions in some scenes, and, you know, being a commander and all. Mm-hmm. You know, he does what he can, and so does the rest of the cast. They try to hold it together. So there's nothing really to write home about, but they're at least fine. You know?
I mean, they look genuine like soldiers, and they do play off like that. I will say that one particular, probably the only like good praise I'll give it about Tom Hanks is the fact that, you know, it's his first time doing what he's doing as a captain, is being promoted, and he's being given this task to fight the most toughest, sophisticated submarines ever fucking made, and you can see the stress and the toll it puts on him to the point where he's not eating, sleeping until everything's over with. Yeah. And the toll it does put on him, not strong as it could have been, is still there towards the end. You kind of go, okay, you know, I understand. I like that part.
Yeah.
There were some nighttime scenes that were alright with some of the battle scenes, but that's really just a small pro, but then also a major con.
Yeah.
Throughout the film.
Yeah, and then I agree. And then there is some, well intent of what they were trying to go for
with the stealth,
and also because there are points where the German U-boats are trying to sneak up on them. There's ideas that could work a lot better with it, but I'm just saying budgetly it holds it back. But for what they attempt with it at least tried in that regard. And I do at least appreciate the movies, in some aspects with the patriotism it goes, with being able to honor the soldiers, giving them trying to do the battle as best as they could handle it. What happened in real life.
Now, since this movie is based off a person's book, I'm going to suggest that I might be wrong here. I didn't look up anything, but maybe it's about that guy, Tom Hanks or somebody is the guy that wrote the book, and it's about what he did. So in that regards, I can understand why we didn't get as much as what we got, but I don't know if that's facts or true, or if it's false. But I'd have to look more into it. But anyways, other than that, I'm having a hard time really finding any pros in this film, so I might as well just start with my cons on this.
Yeah.
I could not believe how poorly shot this movie was. This looked like something from History Channel meets Lifetime. What we got in trailers and what was distributed and edited together and all that stuff, and what we got as a whole movie, holy shit, this looked cheap. And this is really, I don't see how I didn't see Midway, but I can get why a lot of people are telling me Midway looked even a little bit more competent shot compared to this.
Yeah.
On visual standpoints, even though I heard that was a bad visual film movie. I'm just saying the structure of the entire movie, the camera work and everything is god awful in this movie.
The editing, too, also factor into it. The movie, the way it's shot, that's part of my cons too, is that it feels very much like they were trying to go for a pilot to possibly a TV series, probably built for Apple TV, and that's the way, because a lot of the editing and a lot of the way it's shot really feels like that. This is basically the pilot, the first part of a major ongoing battle, because there are sequences where literally I counted probably 4 or 5 fucking times where the movie just fades to black out of nowhere to transition to other scenes, and it feels very cheaply transitioned the way it goes.
Granted, a few of them, because this film tries to do chapters
by days
instead of chapter 1, 2, or whatever, and that's probably for book aspects because it's based off the book.
Yeah.
But the only problem is like he stated just a minute ago, that was another issue for me. There was weird instances where it faded to black. There was a scene I can understand where and a movie should never fade to black in my opinion. But there's an instance that really fucking bothered me. It was cringy as hell. Was during a confrontation with the U-boats, and there's a part where he's looking, and then you hear the music play, and it goes to black, and then it goes to the same scene. So it's what, did you have to take a fucking piss break? I mean, really, it felt it's like me getting ready, like a boxing match. Boom, boom, I punch you, and you're about to come to me, fade to black, and then, out of nowhere, it's like the director took a piss break and said, fucking, what do we do? Oh, just make it a fade to black scene.
That's what I'm saying.
And it happens a lot in this film, and it does not make any sense.
Right, I can understand there are certain movies that do fade to black for establishing periods of time, time lapses, but they do it a lot in this film that almost, like we're saying, the structure. Many movies that are released as either miniseries or structured like a television series, they do that to basically show commercial break stuff. I was like, was this really the intent they were going for?
And the problem with that is there was a part where I started getting really confused, and this is because you can't really tell a lot of shit that's going on in dark time, while there are some battle scenes that make the CGI not as noticeable. So it was good. It's just when it was so dark, it'd be so dark that I'm okay, didn't I saw that ship get hit earlier? Why are we seeing that ship again later in the story? I thought it sunk. So I started getting kind of confused on a lot of structures, and that has a lot to do with everything feels rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. It feels like we're going in circles. We're not getting anywhere. I know that there probably are going in circles because these U-boats are fucking toying with them. I can get that, and I can agree that's kind of a pro. But my problem is it just feels like that's one big thing. No pun intended, because he was in the circle. I felt like we were going in a fucking circle in this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's really fucking the same shit plays out. And I had a lot of problems with, okay, if all these ships are getting fucked that they're guiding the Allied forces, the Greyhound, Tom Hanks and the Greyhound, the ship that he's on, okay, why are they being sunk and why is the Germans choosing to keep them alive? And the Germans found a way to hack into their system to taunt them throughout the movie. And it comes off like as if I was playing Call of Duty and some 15-year-old was talking shit to me. It just felt really out of place.
Yeah.
Because they taunt them, the Americans and Tom Hanks and their ship, how, oh, we're destroying all your people, they're all dead, haha, you know, and just fucking with them. It's like, I don't know. Something just doesn't feel right with this. This feels cringy.
It doesn't.
Like,
and
it feels out of place.
It does, and that's what I'm saying, yeah. And
Yeah.
not just that, but the way it plays into that, they really don't utilize the stakes that well with how much these
There ain't
U-boats
no
can try to actually, you know, attack them and everything. Because basically every time they keep taunting them and they're trying to, you know, try to attack them and stuff, they never take their full advantage on actually showing a lot more of the damage they come across. And when they do, it's already like
it's in the distance.
It's in the distance, or they're attacking other U-boats and like off screen. With the communicators.
Because a lot of, for budget reasons probably, there's a lot of shit that happens in the background that really, honestly, kind of bothered me because you can easily CGI that shit to make it look and polished and good in the background, and to me is lazy because we kind of really don't get a lot of battling with the Greyhound, the actual ship that Tom Hanks is on, because I don't know why. Is it money reasons? But they're sitting there like having to, you know, being called to help with this ship, and it's like they're lost, don't know which ship to go to, and maybe that was what really happened, and they were fucking confused who we save or whatever. They're not really there saving anybody because they're basically, when they're sunk, they're like, you know, those people say, "Good luck, sir," and you're as you continue on, you know, trying to defer these U-boats and shit.
Right.
And yeah, like another issue I had was the entire story and plot together. This is another film that's so generic on the war story that we just get throwing Tom Hanks with a A-list Elizabeth Shue, who is only there in a dream sequence in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's to give Tom Hanks a love interest that he could think about while he's getting torn up.
Yeah.
And the only difference is it's done in a very cheap, plotted way. And he's instantly thrown into the ship. He feels lazy, in my opinion, while he is okay and gives a good performance, a Tom Hanks performance, but nothing I would call Saving Private Ryan.
No,
this really was real lazy.
It was
with its plot, and really, honestly, I got to the point when throughout the film, and even whenever I should have been, you know, this kind of like, you know, like feel the emotions he's going through, and then the ending part where like I feel like he's relieved and all that stuff. While I did give it a pro, unfortunately, I also have an issue of caring. Because in this film, there are people that do get shot, do get sunk, do get killed, and I don't fucking care.
That's what I'm saying.
And this is a real thing I should care about.
That's what I'm saying. This movie feels more like it's an event because all the characters, we're just thrown into the action, not knowing who anyone is, and nothing that really like breaks out to really understand like who Tom Hanks' character is, other than like his build up with his relationship with Elizabeth Shue, and the fact that he's also, he's a religious person. Yeah. But that's really it. Like, there's nothing really that makes him stand out to where you really go along with the journey with them.
Tom Hanks could have been killed. I wouldn't, and this would be first time ever in his career. I would probably not give a shit because that's how undertoned we were given with.
At least with movies like, because this feels very aching. And I'm not trying to compare because this was a better movie overall, but I'm just saying it's more of an eventful movie like Dunkirk. Dunkirk had the same thing where you were thrown into the action, but the difference was that was on a more epic scale for one, and there was at least more vibes of stakes that were still pushed to where you could still buy a lot of the stuff that was happening.
And to be fair, Nolan was actually trying to make that as realistic as possible, without making it look like a blockbuster. So there's a difference between that and this. Yeah, in a more standpoint of realistic shit, you're not sitting there, hey, you know, let's show Justin his love story before he goes to Dunkirk.
Right, I mean
that was going for, hey, I want you to be there.
Right, it's still
this one was a Hollywood movie, and it just failed fucking miserably at its characters. I didn't even, we have so many people on the ship, and I don't fucking know who's fucking Bob, I don't know who's Chris, I don't know who's Tom, who's that butler we keep seeing that keeps making them food. Why do we keep seeing this, and why do we keep getting exposition, rinse and repeat scenes? Let's cook, you know, the butler guy, the cook guy's cooking him something, and then something happens. Okay, now we got a downtime. Cook him again. Oh shit, we better get to the board. Or back again. Again, I mean, it's just like, what the fuck, man? Yeah, what's the struggle with this?
That's what I'm saying. Because every time they would get to that, and they would do another action scene, it's the same shit where they're shooting cannons out there, trying to hit the U-boats, and still not hitting them, and the U-boats trying to sneak up on them, but, you know, and it becomes a point where sometimes I got lost because, like, okay, did they hit them there? And then I saw a torpedo come, and you know, that's really the only other thing I could, like, pay attention to was when they were trying to hit their boats and stuff, and it felt like they should have done more of the counterattack more with them actually attacking back the the U-boats should have also took more by maybe not just sending one boat at a time, but maybe put like different ones, like surround them and stuff, and play them off a bit more.
Like, you know? I didn't get the whole Nazis taunting him, circling them, and not really destroying them.
Right.
If the U-boats can destroy everything around them, they could easily destroy the ship.
And when they do,
because their ship that Tom Hanks is on is nothing special from the other ship, other than it may have a little bit more sophisticated shit because we were the United States, and at the time we had the sophisticated shit that could compete with the Nazis, while we were carrying the Allied forces who struggled to have the same thing. I can understand that.
Yeah.
The only problem is they fucked us up too. I mean, they were blowing fucking U.S. ships out of the fucking water too. So it's like, I don't get what the Nazis were pulling here. I mean, there's no villain other than, hey, it's a Nazi. I mean, you don't ever see a Nazi person. Like, you literally just see U-boats. So the boats are a villain in this film.
Right.
Another thing I did not like, and this was so painfully done, the fucking CGI. Holy God, Jesus Christ, was this? This film looked horrible. And not to mention, I don't know if it was a copy we got or not, but it felt like the way it was shot, it was moving like you ever put on something and like you didn't set your TV up right and it moves kind of speedy.
The soap opera effect.
The soap opera effect.
The motion effects.
But I've actually heard the visual effects came out like that. And I'm like, how did they, cinematographer and a director, especially a cinematographer who was with the Simon Birch and what, Kiss the Girls? Or,
the cinematographer.
Kiss Girls?
Yeah, Kiss Girls in that movie.
Simon Birch. And those look like legit good shot movies. And then I mean, of course he's been out of the game in a while. Those were 90s.
Yeah.
What the fuck, man? This looked like a student trying his first ever.
Yeah, it was almost like because the frame rate,
was horrible.
Yeah, it was like they were trying to test. They were kind of doing, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it was almost like they were trying to do the whole high frame rate thing, like Peter Jackson did with the Hobbit films, on doing that whole kind of fast look of it.
The only thing is this came out entirely when you finished the movie. It felt like I watched this low-budget, Lifetime helping with History Channel, where they paid major actors to come, but then use their budget.
Yeah.
And you know that's destined for not looking too well.
Not just that, but it also had a score that really felt kind of
forced,
but also
like a Shining
kind of, and a little mixture of Hans Zimmer's, because there's the whole drum sound effects that's very Hans Zimmer equivalent.
From what I read, there's a guy that works with Hans Zimmer who's pretty much did other techniques and tests for Hans Zimmer in his entire career. I guess this was his, I want to do my go on my first movie and do my own. I've learned from the master.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you need to maybe go back to master. But I'm not going to blame you too hard. If this score maybe would have been in like Steven Spielberg would have did the movie or something huge like that, and this would have been epic. You know, this is the Battle of the Atlantic.
It sounds.
Like, I'm talking about major 3-hour movie. Then I can understand maybe it maybe would have looked sounded a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard for me to like something on polished shit.
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, really,
because because like the way that the effects looked, it's like even in some of the big time fucking daytime scenes, especially when the water and all that, the water
fake.
It almost seems like they're shot in a studio the whole time, and
splashing the water because you can do that.
Yeah,
and make it look like an
It's
ocean.
almost as bad. It's actually worse than what I looked from. If I remember watching a movie a few years ago called The Finest Hours, which did that, where it was set in a studio and it was very green screen. Oh, this looked a lot worse than that because this one they seemed like they were wholly all around a fucking green screen.
You can tell the backdrops too really bad in this film. You could see the ships were really backdropped. The only thing that looked legit was when they were being sunk, and that was split seconds at most, sporadically throughout the film. It almost came about, which I don't want to, say something that isn't true, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I felt like maybe this film got so poor at one point, I thought I saw the same ship sink 3 times because they looked so identical.
Yeah.
I mean, this was, what the fuck? This was bad. This was so fucking bad. I wouldn't say this was like bad, like it was going to make a flatline skid thing, but I'm going to put it more of a I didn't give a flying fuck. And this was something that should have been handled somebody with experience. And Tom Hanks, I'm sorry, you wrote the screenplay to this. Yeah, the screenplay was really fucking rough to watch play out.
You really needed a lot better.
How's a vet write something, the screenplay this fucking terrible?
Exactly.
So with that being said, man, this was a horrible fucking war film, and I thought of one score, but I'm probably going to give it a little bit lower on this one. I'm going to have to go a low disaster grade on the Film Phreeks meter. I was going to give it just a disaster, but now I think of it, there's a lot more problems than what I was putting in my perspective earlier.
I hear you. I'm sticking more with disaster on this one because believe me, it is still a very, it's not a good movie by any means. It's definitely one that I was just morally bored with a lot because the pacing.
Oh
yeah, 90 minutes.
That was
I
something
felt like
else we forgot to bring up. That was a thing I forgot to bring up. Fucking bored. I played on my phone. I'm so fucking bored, and I probably didn't miss much on the dialogue because the dialogue is, hey, go and write a letter and send this and say we need air support. Yeah. Which, by the way, I thought that's what they were building up for because apparently in real life they were needing air support to get them out of the situation. I didn't see no air support in this movie. This movie just abruptly quits and lets us know, oh, by the way, this was kind of like a pilot of that situation before the actual Battle of the Atlantic took place. Yeah. And it just cuts and just explains it, exposition. Everything else, I'm like, why would you show me something that doesn't blend with this movie? Exactly, yeah. It felt more like we were saying earlier, it's the equivalent of doing a pilot TV show for a Battle of the Atlantic type of series. Could probably work if it was done better on that regard, but as a major film, it fails in that level because it really takes a lot out of what they were going for, and it doesn't work in any way whatsoever on an epic scale, and also it doesn't get you invested by any point because it's a lot of the same circling around and shit, and all the stuff that they were trying to go for, it's like it failed in almost every regard. And it's funny. You even though I watched the movie and you're like, how was this theoretically lit? Because it was originally by Sony. I'm gonna say I don't think I watched a Sony film with this low budget, and that Sony's made some bad movies. This looked like straight up fucking straight to Apple TV stream at best, maybe if you're lucky. I've seen On Demand look better than this visually. Yeah. So I'm going with more of a disaster grade because believe me, this is a movie that it just came and I watched it and I was bored and I won't watch again. But I didn't really get that very pissed off level. I was just very well, whatever. This movie's just really not clicking well. I don't feel nothing. It's a very empty movie. It's a very empty movie. So
So yeah, for those of you who have also seen Greyhound, and also the book that the movie is based off of, let us know in the comments what you thought about it. And stay safe, and thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in our next review.
All right.
We'll see you later.
Later.